What's up, everybody? I'm Simon Sabra, and today I got for y'all my January manga reading log. So, before we get into that, be sure to follow me on Instagram at Simon Sabra YT. Link for that will always be down in the description. Also, be sure to leave a like, subscribe, hit that bell so you never miss an upload, all that good stuff. Also, comment down anything you've been reading recently, anything you've picked up, anything you'd recommend, how'd you feel about my pickups, anything like that whatsoever. But with all that out the way, let's just jump right into it. All right, so getting straight into it, honestly, I don't have too much here that I've read, but we are just gonna go through whatever we did read. Um, Starting off, we do have Steel of the Celestial Dragons, Steel of the Celestial Shadows. Okay, off to a kind of bad start, but here's the cover for it. Did show this off in the recent manga haul that I did. I'm not sure if I talked about it in there though, but just gonna talk a bit about it in here. Here we go. Here's the back of it because the back will usually explain it much better than I can just to start. But start out, this volume cover is gorgeous. And I think like the first three volume covers, because I have seen the first three volume covers, are all beautiful. And it's the main reason I even bought this manga, not even gonna lie. So long story short, this one, it's about this dude who has like this strange ability to like repel metal. Like metal just refuses to interact with this guy. Blah blah blah. He gets this wife. Blah blah blah. Like I'm not going to talk too much about it because to be honest, like a lot of the nitty gritty details I don't really remember too vividly. I do know that I did enjoy it. It was a very interesting read. The beginning of it, I wasn't like the biggest fan of it. I was like, oh, okay, blah, whatever. Towards the end, though, his girl gets captured, and it's like, all right, now it's like, okay, I got to see what he's gonna do because the main character, just to add some context, the main character is a samurai, because he can't wield a sword, so he's kind of like shamed as a samurai. So I think he wields like, say, like a wooden or a bamboo sword. I forgot like exactly what kind of weapon it is, but he can't wield steel. Saying that feels very weird, by the way. Wield steel. I don't. Something about that just feels weird to say. But even like he can't use like pots, pans, etc. just because they're made of metal. So it's a very interesting story. The art in here, unfortunately, isn't like as beautiful as the cover. I'll be very honest, but the art isn't bad, so to say. It works for the style of the story, or however the English there makes sense, but it just works. Do enjoy this. I think on a scale of like 0 to 10, I'd probably give it like a 6, maybe 6.5 actually. I did kind of enjoy this way more than I thought I would. Definitely gonna be picking up future volumes of this. If you've read it, comment down how you felt about it. But putting that off to the side. The next series, I talk about this all the time, and I promise this time, like, the title is not gonna be named after this book. Boys Abyss Volume 4. Um, okay. If you've read this volume, you probably know like what I'm getting at. If you haven't read it, I'm sorry because I am gonna say it anyway. If you've never heard of this series, I'm sorry because the way I'm gonna like get you like first talk about this series, like your first impression of this from me is gonna be horrible. Just want to put that out there. Okay, so in this volume, main character, forgot his name. Um, okay, before that actually, so my brother read like all of this online. I don't know if he's up to date, but he read a good amount of this online, but he's way ahead of the physicals in English. And so after this volume, I'm gonna just say this part real quick because it's been bothering me for a while. I asked him, I said, yo, bro, how clearly do you remember Boys Best? He was like, yeah, pretty clearly. It kind of stood out. I said, yo, does the main character do something with his mom? And he looked at me. He was like, what do you mean? He was like, let me see that volume. Let me see where y'all are at. And he said, all right, I'm not even gonna say anything. And I said, bro, if it goes where I think it's going, I am dropping this series so fast. But anyways, on to this volume. Okay, it was honestly my thoughts with Boys Abyss is kind of the same every time. I think it is garbage. I think it's one of the worst manga that I am consistently keeping up with. It's definitely like a guilty pleasure manga. Like, you ever hear those people that talk about they love like Rent a Girlfriend because of how bad it is? That's how I feel with Boys Abyss. That's like exactly how I feel with Boys Abyss. It's just I don't know, something about just seeing, like, just not having expectations for a series. Something about that just feels so good. Something about going into this every like time a volume comes out. Something about just picking this up, reading it, and just being like, how bad does this get? And it just surpasses my expectations every time, and it's phenomenal in that regard. Not gonna spend too much time on this. I feel like I genuinely said all that I had to say about this. If I had to rate it, I'll probably give it like a blank out of 10. I'm gonna get the next volume though. We'll leave it at that. I'm gonna get the next volume. Now, on to some real peak. Boom, SunDome Volume 8. Now this right here is some real peak. This is peak friction right here. I'm not sure if I'm like allowed to show this back of the book here, so I'll like cover it and show the remainder. This right here though, this gets peak friction out of 10 easily. Showing a page and this is just risky, but in this volume, we get a lot of things that not only reveal but also hint a lot more to the main character's backstory, and it adds a lot more substance and depth to the story because we kind of find out why the main character is the way he is. And it's very interesting because in a lot of series like harem, ecchi series, it's never explained why the character is always like, you know, it's just kind of like take it as is. But this actually explained it. And now that I'm thinking about it like that, like in that regard, it's kind of weird because it's like, I guess I never expected an explanation. Like, I never wanted an explanation for it. It was just kind of like, I'll just take it as is. Like, that's just the facts. Boom. I'll just accept the facts as the facts. Like, I never put much thought into it because that's how it's always been. So it's actually kind of interesting that there's like backstory for that. And I kind of want to show some page, which is turning out to be a lot harder than it looks. Here, we'll show it. If you want to read like the text on screen here, I just think it's hilarious. But like I said, this volume adds a lot of context into why the main character acts the way he acts, adds a lot more depth to him, as well as just to the overall story, as well as like how it kind of, because in the story, slight spoiler, not really, it is a harem. I don't know how much of it I can actually spoil, but the main character is always the one going out of his way to like help the girls out. And so this was like the first time where he was in need of help, and they all like put aside their differences. They all were like, hey, we've got to help this guy out. And they were like, it was strange because he wasn't acting like himself in the volume. You just kind of got to read it, I'll be honest. But like I said, peak friction out of 10. Moving on to the next book. And I say this, you know, I've noticed I say this every time. Like, it feels like every video I say, I'm gonna try not to make this a long video, and then it ends up being like a 20+ minute video. Like, I feel like that happens every time. So I'm not even gonna say it for this volume, or not volume, but video, sorry. Moving on, this one's gonna be real quick. Satoshi Kon's Opus. I did do a whole manga review episode video of this book. Be sure to check it out. I'll put the card up. Maybe it's this side, maybe it's this side. I genuinely never know. But we'll put the card up, and link for it will be in the description, probably at the end of the video as well. But long story short, I mean, I got a manga review from me. This is a 10 out of 10 easily. Like I said, it got a manga review out of me. I don't I honestly don't feel like I do enough manga reviews on this channel, which is something I kind of want to do more of. But we'll cross that bridge as we get there. Like I said, this is peak right here. This was such an amazing book. Moving on. So we're kind of at the last three, I want to say. This is the one I most recently read. Like, I read this maybe like a day or so before recording this. Let me make sure I got the title. Yep. Orange to You, Dear One. Sometime last year, I did finish reading Orange, as we could kind of see like right back here. But picked this up, I think it was in the most recent haul, could be wrong. But picked this up and I was like, okay, let me read this. Shout out to my boy Lance as usual. He put me on. Shout you out, man. But we did pick this up. And honestly, I was a little iffy at first because I was like, the original, I guess, run of the series, I feel like had a really solid ending in and of itself. I was like, I don't know if I want more context. I feel like it was solid as is. And it's honestly impressive how this still, this made me appreciate those volumes significantly more. Not in a bad way, not in like a, oh my God, this was so bad that like, it makes these look 10 times better. Not even in that like regard. It was more like, yo, it just added so much to the story that I didn't know could be added to the story. Like, it was just really good. And I think the way my brain works when I read like these kind of melancholy kind of school days kind of series where it's like, it highlights the mundane, so to say. I don't know if that wording makes a lot of sense, but these are like regular people lives, so to say. They aren't like, we'll take like Opus, for example, where people are like getting transported into manga. There isn't like fourth wall breaks, stuff like that. Like, that happens in this. Whereas this is like, compared to that, of course, this is like ordinary high schoolers' lives, and they're just trying to figure life out. And so when I'm reading these kind of series, it's like, my brain is like, okay, it kind of turns everything, like the whole book, into one chapter. It just like filters the information that way. I don't know if my explanation makes much sense, like, regarding that. If it does, definitely let me know if that makes sense, or maybe how I could have worded that better. But something about these series, and I like I said, do not mean this in a bad way. My brain just interprets it very differently. But overall, though, I did really enjoy this series. There was another volume of Orange. I forgot what it's called. I was told not to read that one though, because it's bad. I forgot where I heard not to read that one from, but I've opted just not to read it. Did see there's a box set for it, and I really want to get the box set because those singles are beautiful, but the omnibus just take up significantly less space, so I'm probably just gonna stick with that. But anyways, Orange, definitely up there. Amazing series. Love this way more than I thought I would. And comment down if Orange has like a movie or an anime, because I would love to watch it. Pretty sure it does, but I'm pretty sure someone has told me whether it does or doesn't. But moving on, we do have second to last. We'll save that one for last. We'll switch to this one. We do have Rascal Does Not Dream of a Logical Witch. And for some reason, I feel like I read this so long ago, but I literally think I read it at the beginning or maybe second week of January. This one, also amazing. And like I said, very similar to like what I said with Orange. These kind of series, my brain just kind of like streamlines the information. But I did enjoy this one. Would I say of the entire like Rascal series that's in manga so far, because those are the only ones I've read, being Bunny Girl, Petite Devil Witch, and Logical Witch, or whatever. Petite Devil Kohai. That's what it was called. And this one, I think Devil Kohai might be my favorite. This one does get probably second place. I feel like my brain had a bit of a hard time understanding the phenomenon for the adolescent syndrome in this one, where it's kind of like two people or one person being in two places at once. I feel like my brain wasn't really like keeping up with it too well. But overall, did enjoy this, especially because, okay, okay, especially because this character in the previous volumes was always the most interesting character to me because of her kind of like lack of screen time. And so this whole book being about her and just seeing a completely different side of her, like overall, like even just looking at her in this volume, I was like, is this the same person from the other volumes? Like I was genuinely confused because I was like, this like doesn't even act like the same, you know, way that I had perceived her in the previous volumes. And so just that, I guess, vulnerability that she showed in this volume made me like appreciate her so much more. And like I said, she was one of the more interesting characters to me because of her lack of screen time and just like you knew she was an important character, but it was never actually like that wasn't reflected in her screen time, if that makes sense. But this one definitely up there as well. I think I'd give it, I might put it above Orange. I forgot what I rated Orange, but I'll put it like 0.5 above Orange. Think I definitely did enjoy this one a little bit more. I think the sci-fi elements just kind of make it a little more interesting for me. But last thing we did read, this is another series that's similar, and I've been doing air quotes a lot in this video, but kind of like with Boys Abyss where I said like it's just like so bad that I just kind of want to continue. This one is like, it's really good, but in a very bad way. But I gotta keep reading it, and that is Homunculus, and this is the third omnibus. And what I mean by that is like this manga makes me uncomfortable for all of the right reasons. I do enjoy psychology. I do enjoy trying to understand and like pick apart the human brain, all that good jazz that this book goes out of its way to do, because that is pretty much the premise of it. And I feel like watching a lot of the characters become uncomfortable, watching a lot of the characters trying to understand themselves as well as other people. Mostly our main character, name I don't remember. Like I'm really bad at this. But it's just honestly, dark psychological has always been my favorite like genre of manga. Anime as well, honestly. Unfortunately, I feel like anime doesn't get as many good dark psychological series, but in terms of manga, it's my favorite genre. Whether it be like, boom, if y'all can see it, MPD Psycho right there. Technically, Batum has a little bit of it. I'm a Hero Down Below has a little bit of it. This is all about it. I've heard Ikigami has a little bit of it, or no, I've heard Ikigami, that's like the whole premise of it. A lot of Shuzo Oshimi is like dark thriller, kind of like psychological thriller, coming of age. Like that is just my favorite genre. And Homunculus, just like I said, it just does it so well in such a way that it breaks down the thought of, sorry, I was kind of like looking off just now because I was thinking it probably looked weird on camera. I was just thinking about it, sorry. But just the way that it breaks down the human psyche in a sense of like, my understanding of other people is a reflection of how much I understand myself. In the same way of you looking, like, you ever talk to somebody and you're like, hey, that kind of reminds me of myself. Like something they said sounds like something I'd say, or, you know, things of that nature, like perfect. And I'm actually, now that I think about it, I do have a manga review of this also, funny enough. I'll also put the card up. I always feel like it's this side, but I don't remember. Maybe that side. I feel so stupid when I do this, but I'll put a link in the description as well as probably at the end of the video. But yeah, I do have a manga review up of this as well. Overall, really enjoyed this series. This might have been my favorite read of this month. Either this or Satoshi Kon's Opus. One of those would probably be my favorite read of this month, or last month technically, because time of recording it is February now. But that is pretty much it for the video. Let's give a quick shout out to our channel members. Thank you guys so much for supporting the channel. I really do appreciate it. And that's pretty much it for the video. Once again, just comment down anything you've been reading recently. But that's it for me. This is Simon Sabro signing out. Catch you on the next one.